Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. As part of the Dodgers Day Network, Casey Porter here, trying a new thing here early in the morning on a live show. Figured, hey, I'm going to drop a video. Might as well go live with it, see if we can get some interaction, get a chat. If this sticks or becomes something that we get a good crowd or people are able to log on maybe, and instead of playing your radio in the background, you can maybe play the Dodgers Dogs live and not let your boss know, that kind of thing. Maybe this is something that we could start doing each and every day to have a little bit more interaction, because the schedules get crazy. Like Sunday night, usually I go on, but we were my beautiful bride of 25 years. We did the day-night doubleheader where we went and watched Tulsa and Wichita, came back home to Oklahoma City. Didn't have time to do a live. Austin didn't have time to do a live last night. Sometimes the Wednesdays work out, sometimes they don't with Austin and I. Same with Fridays or Saturdays. So, hey, if 9 o'clock in the morning Pacific works, then maybe we'll try something at least while summer is in session here and see if we can't get a good live crowd. So, hey, if you have gotten this notification and you're starting to log on, email or text out or social media out, we are live here on Dodgers Dogs. Let's get a great crowd going, and let's talk some Dodgers baseball. That, simply put, has not been pretty as of late. No doubt about it. So I know what everybody's thinking this Tuesday morning is, man, we need to figure out trade route, how to go get Nolan Arenado, or I know Luis Robert Jr. is on the IL right now, or an outfielder to replace some of the production that we've lost, this and that. We already have a great crowd logging in. Greg Osterberg, good morning. Tark the Shark, GM Casey, is Glasnow really ready to come back, or are they rushing him? We'll get into that here in a minute. And I promise we'll get into, actually, let's go ahead and get into that right now. Let's just go ahead and talk Tyler Glasnow before we get into the rest of our conversation. And let me open up his video. Give me just a second here. These types of situations where I have to pivot like this are going to take just a minute, because I'm by myself and sometimes it gets clunky. So let's get Tyler Glasnow on the board. And the question here early on, as we see Tyler Glasnow, of course, we have Clayton Kershaw going tonight. We're going to talk about all about that. But the question we have here is, Tyler Glasnow ready to start would be tomorrow night. And I would say, to be consistent with what I have posted on social media, and I'm getting to my post on him right now, is that yes. And I wouldn't say a definitive yes. I was pretty much riding the fence, but riding the fence in a way last time that I really thought that he probably was ready, but I wouldn't care which way he went either way. So as you're looking at Tyler Glasnow, he was a lot better last time out, no doubt about that. And as a matter of fact, it was 4 innings for him, 6 hits, 3 runs, 8 strikeouts, and 1 walk. That's the big deal. He had trouble with walks early on. So he got the walks under control, although you see him still doing that right there. He rips that ball up at the top of the zone with his 4-seam like that, and he's still pulling his slider some. So I was on the fence, but when you look at, if you went underneath the hood, and of course the 4 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 runs, that's not great. You don't like the 3 runs, but you liked everything that was underneath the hood. That was kind of my point with his last outing. He sat 96. He didn't touch 96. He sat 96, and the spin rate on his fastball was over 2,700. At least it touched over 2,700. That's impressive. So the fastball metrics are all there. And then here's the big deal about why I thought he was ready after his last rehab, and I totally agree with the Dodgers' decision to make his next start tomorrow night in Los Angeles. He was in the strike zone. He was in zone with his fastball that had spin rate over 2,700, that sat 96, in zone 61% of the time. That will play. That will get outs at the major league level tomorrow night if he just duplicates that. The only hit he gave up on his 4-seam was to the first hitter of the game, and that hit was to Nick Martini. And Nick Martini has 602 major league at-bats. So he gave up a 1 hit all day on his 4-seam to a major league hitter, and then the home run he gave up on was the hit that played at all 3 runs. So he got ambushed for a home run. And that was on a slider. It was on a 1-2 count, and he hung it. Okay, that happens. And it may happen tomorrow night. I don't know. But But I'm not worried. Looking at the metrics underneath the hood, I like what I saw from Tyler Glasnow. I loved his fastball. His slider was good, all but maybe a mistake or two. But then after he gave up the home run, Tyler Glasnow then settled back down. He retired 5 of his last 6 hitters he faced. 4 of those that he retired on were strikeouts. And the only Aviator, which is the A's AAA team, they're the Aviators, that team can flat hit, no doubt about it. That is a really, really good. You're actually not seeing any of this from Tyler Glasnow. So let me scroll that over. After the home run, he retired 5 of the last 6. And after, and the Aviators can absolutely hit, no doubt about it. And he gave up 6 hits, 3 on his curveball, 1 apiece on his four-seam and slider and sinker. So in total, even with the home run added in, average exit velocity in all 6 of his hits was just 92 miles an hour. So not a big deal to me. I thought I'm going to let this continue to roll because I forgot to screen it over there as I was talking about him. I thought I actually had it over. So I'm going to let this continue to scroll as I talk. So definitely thank you for that question, Tark to Shark. I 100%. Now, that doesn't mean that he won't go out tomorrow night and give up 8 runs in 2 innings or 2/3 of an inning like Yoshinobu Yamamoto did last night. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But I do think 100% Tark. I think this is absolutely the best decision. I don't see anything else that he had left to do in AAA. He got the pitch metrics up. He got his strike ball. He got his fastball in the zone. He recovered from the home run he gave up. A lot better than the first outing that I saw with my own eyes in Oklahoma City. So no doubt, I think he's ready. And again, that does not mean or guarantee any kind of success. No doubt about that. So we have a great crowd logging in. We have a ton to talk about. The Dodgers are struggling. Offense is struggling. Pitching has been spotty. I mean, it kind of reminds me, this 4-game streak is like a microcosm of the entire season for AA Tulsa. So I'm very well versed and prepared to talk about what's going on at the moment. Yes, Ela Shiva, the Dodgers, very much so, are desperate for pitching, no doubt about that. And Emmett Sheehan threw well the other day. That was good to see. Emmett Sheehan had been dominant in Oklahoma City, saved 1 outing in his last outing, and then 1 in Albuquerque, which, man, that Albuquerque deal is really tough. Rumar Spencer, Chuck Huddleston, Ela Shiva Jones, Al Minerva, Ryan R. We have just a wonderful crowd logging in. Again, get on your social media, get on your text messages, tell everybody Dodgers Dawgs is part of the Dodgers Daily Network, is ready to go live 9 Pacific each and every weekday if we can get enough crowd out there and get things going and have a good time and talk back and forth that way. So let's get a bunch of people in the crowd. Let's make this show all about what you want to talk about in terms of where the Dodgers are at. So a lot of people think the Dodgers need another pitcher, like Ela Shiva saying they're desperate for pitching. A lot of people think the Dodgers need another bat. And before Max Muncy got hurt, and while he was hot like he was, I mean, we've seen the devastation it's taken on this lineup with Max Muncy being out of the lineup. I mean, he was the hottest hitter that the Dodgers had at the moment. So before Max Muncy went down, I think you could play the game of, well, let's wait and see. Maybe we could put a defensive outfielder out there, that kind of deal, because the offense was pretty much rocking and rolling. You had swept the White Sox. You had taken 2 out of 3 from Kansas City. You had been gritty. You had been tough. You had come back in several games. You had that stretch where you had the grueling games against the Mets and the Cardinals and the Padres and the Giants and all of these teams that were very good. And you got through that and grew your lead up to 7.5 games. All of a sudden, Max Muncy gets hurt, and now all of a sudden your offense isn't playing good. And now you go from, well, this is kind of a machine like we felt like last week, to, damn, man, we need to start looking at who can we go get Luis Robert Jr.? Can we go get Nolan Arenado? Can we go get Ryan McMahon? What can we do to reinforce the offense? So it's been, you don't want to get too high, too low, but that's kind of the shift. And the way I think a lot of Dodgers fans have gone here in the last 4 to 5 days. So you don't want to make any too big of a deal out of any one small window of games. Although this has been a very ugly stretch, you got to remember the Dodgers still are 56-36 on the year. They still have a fairly comfortable cushion in the NL West, and they're 5-5 in the last 10, but so are the Giants. The Giants are 5-5 in the last 10, and actually the D-backs and Padres are 4-6 in their last 10. So even with this 4-game losing streak, even being 5-5 in their last 10, the Dodgers still have not lost any ground and have still gained ground, 1 game each, on the Padres and the Diamondbacks. So that kind of continues to allow you to have time to evaluate exactly what it is that's happening, what's going on, and how to fix it. Because it has not been good, especially the offense, okay? The offense has scored just 6 runs in this 4-game patch. I'm going to call it a patch because it's a small window, which, like I said, in the middle of a season certainly can happen. But I say that to say not too high, not too low. You don't want to hit the panic button. You don't want to reverse course. And you know, a lot of times you start going off the road to the right. You overcompensate. You go across traffic, and that's where your wreck and your injuries happen. You don't want to do that. You don't want to overcorrect too much. Having said that, the offense has not been good. Shohei Ohtani, so the Hall of Fame 3 at the top. Freddie Freeman still has a batting average over 300, but he's not hitting home runs at all. We'll get into that here in just a second. Back to Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani, as great as he is, he had 2 hits on Sunday, but despite those 2 hits, Shohei Ohtani is hitting just 192 in his last 7 games, and he's hitting just 218 in his last 15. Mookie Betts, 249 on the year, 713 OPS for the year, and he's hitting just 214 in his last 7 games. Freddie Freeman is still hitting over 300. Matter of fact, 307 to be exact. But how about this? He's hitting 207 in his last 15 games. Here's the big one. No home runs for Freddie Freeman in July. He's hit just 1 home run since May 11th. 1 home run in his last 187 at-bats. So we can say, yeah, we need a bigger bat. Yeah, we need this. Yeah, we need that. And I'm not going to disagree with any of that. What the Dodgers really need is for Shohei Ohtani to get out of this little patch, the 192 over the last 7, 218 the last 15. They need Mookie Betts to be at least somewhat closer to what we expect out of Mookie Betts, which is not 249 with an OPS of 713. And the Dodgers need Freddie Freeman to start slugging. They need him to start hitting home runs. If that happens, which I think most people would probably say when as opposed to if, although it's been a pretty big sample size in terms of the lack of home runs for Freddie Freeman. There's no way you can make the statement, oh, it's okay, it's Freddie, he's fine. That's a huge sample size. 187 at-bats. There's no way you can make the argument that that's not concerning about Freddie Freeman. You have to be concerned of that lack of home run hitting prowess from him in that 187 at-bats. There's no way you can look at Mookie Betts, the entire sample size of the entire season, and say that you're not concerned that he's hitting 249. Now, you can say, hey, I have faith that Mookie Betts will overcome this and be the Mookie Betts we expect. You can say, hey, I have faith that Freddie Freeman is going to start hitting home runs. Fine. But I just don't think there's any way you can say you're not concerned about it at this point. Now, I think you could say, well, hell, I'm not concerned at all about Shohei Ohtani. I mean, it's 7 games and then 15 games. That's the window you're talking about. I'll buy that, and I totally agree with that. I wouldn't buy it with Betts and Freeman. I do think there are definite reasons for concern for there. Stack on top of that, Teo Hernandez, just 188 in his last 30 games. 30 games, that's a pretty big window. 125 in his last 7. Add to that, Tommy Edman hasn't been able to stay healthy. And when he's been healthy, he hasn't been the Tommy Edman that we got accustomed to and we grew to love last year. So the top 3, Teo Hernandez, Tommy Edman, that's 5. And then Michael Conforto. Michael Conforto, he's picked it up some. I'm going to give him that in the last week or so, but not by leaps and bounds. I mean, he's hitting 227 in the last 7 games. That's the definition of Michael Conforto picking things up, is 227 in the last 7 games. He's hitting just 196 over his last 15. And so the Dodgers have to figure out what they're going to do there. And then, as we said now, Max Muncy, who was the hottest hitter, is on the IL. So my question for you is, and let's get a great crowd in here. Let's get on our phones. Let's get people over here. Let's get a big Dodgers dog crowd, and let's have some great conversation about the Dodgers and where we're at. So I went over all that. Is this just a patch to where, the Dodgers are still 20 games above 500? They still have the second best record in all of baseball, the best record in the NL. They're getting pitching reinforcements coming back. The top 3 will figure it out. Eventually, Teo will figure it out. Tommy will get healthy. And the Dodgers will figure out the Michael Conforto situation. So is it that where you have no concern towards this little, not just the 4-game patch, but the trends with the Dodgers offensively? That's I think what you need to be, if you're concerned about anything. I think that's the concern. So is there concern there, or is it, all those things will work themselves out? Or is it, hey, I just think we're another Max Muncy type bat away because the offense was fine when the Dodgers had Max Muncy in there. So let's go get another bat that can replace Max Muncy, and let's get on with it, and everything's fine. Where are you at there? Leave your comments in the chat. Leave a comment in the regular comment section for the video. Let me know what you think about the Dodgers offense. I know it's been bad the last 4 games. I know the top 3 have not been hitting the way that they're capable of hitting. I know Teo and Michael Conforto aren't hitting. Conforto mostly a little bit better lately, but mostly for the rest of the year. I know Tommy Edman hasn't been great since he came off the IL earlier this year. So I want to know your thoughts on your level of concern. How concerned are you? Or how concerned are you that the Dodgers, or how confident are you that the Dodgers either know that they have what they need in-house, like they could bring up Alex Freeland. He's been playing third base a lot lately, and they could fix it that way. They brought up James Outman in-house. So how confident are you that the Dodgers will go fix this via the free agent market? Or are you confident that the Dodgers think that they can patch this thing together with some call-ups like a James Outman, Esteury Ruiz, guys like that, and just survive until they get Max Muncy back and all their pitching fresh and back, like the Emmett Sheehan, like tomorrow night, Tyler Glasnow. So which way do you think the Dodgers will go? Will they be aggressive and go get a third baseman or another outfield bat? Or do you think they'll write it out and say, hey, we have the best record in the National League? No reason to shake things up. We're going to get Max Muncy back. What do you think about that? So Chuck Huddleston's already said that Chuck thinks the Dodgers are going to get another legitimate bat. Chuck, thank you so much for joining. Andres Fonseca, Craig Osterberg, Alex Renteria, Ryan R., Tark the Shark. We have just a great crowd. Hey, Justin Lamas has checked in as well. So what a great crowd we have logged in. And I have a lot of things that I want to talk about. We have a wonderful Down on the Farm. We had the Down on the Farm yesterday for AAA Oklahoma City and AA Tulsa. That was a lot of fun. I wanted to get to the Bobby Miller, his outing. And I may cover that again on today's Down on the Farm too as we go live. But today's going to be mostly about Single A Rancho Cucamonga. Sterling Paddock, the young lefty in the Dodgers system, had another really good outing, short outing the other day. And then Josue de Paula had a couple of hits on Sunday. Carson Hobbs continues to dominate. So we have some great stuff to get to Down on the Farm. Matter of fact, I will get to that Bobby Miller outing from the other day. We'll start our Down the Farm with that. Then we'll get to our High A Great Lakes and Single A Rancho Cucamonga talk as we move on. So, hey, Rumar Spencer is now 4 straight losses, matches our season high. Yes, it does. We got to start the game tonight from the jump. Hope we get Edman and Teo back, though we lost Kike on IL. Glad Glasnow will be back tomorrow. There's another one, Kike Hernandez. So now it's basically who at third base? Miguel Rojas, who's been playing good, made some great plays. He hit a home run the other day. So Miguel Rojas has been doing good over there, but he's not an everyday guy. That inches you closer either to an Alex Freeland call-up which Alex Freeland is eligible for the Rule 5 draft in December. So the Dodgers are going to put him on the 40-man in the offseason. Why not do it now? Bring him up. They played him 3 or 4 games at third base. Sometime this week, give him maybe 6 or 7 games at third base in a row. Bring him up at third base, and let's see what we got. So we'll see how that happens. And, yeah, and then you also need the depth that Kike, I think also that's going to give maybe, I know Dalton Rushing's left-handed, but that's given Asterio Ruiz a role. We saw him pinch hit the other day. He struck out, so that wasn't successful. We saw Dalton Rushing get to play some first base. So those guys become more valuable at this point, as you don't have Kike, you don't have Muncy. Somebody, I think, other than Miguel Rojas can't be your everyday third baseman. No doubt about that. So I think there has to be some urgency in terms of that. What do you do with third base? You got to figure that out. And then so I think left field is urgent, but I don't think it's like urgent like tomorrow or this week. I think left field you can still just kind of see what's going on, see what you got, and then figure it out at the end of July with the trade deadline. So yes, I do think they have to figure out left field, but I think they have some time there still because they've given themselves a cushion. But I think they need to figure out third base right now. I think the red flag alerts, all of that, this is DEFCON 4, figure out third base right now. This team, like I said, Miguel Rojas can't be the everyday third baseman. Tommy Edman hasn't played a whole lot over there. Is it Alex Freeland? I'm fine with that. If you want to bring up Alex Freeland, I'm cool with that. That gives Cody Hosey everyday reps at third base so he can go into his free agency at the end of this year with a full run of playing time. I'm totally cool with that. The Dodgers will be just fine with Alex Freeland at third base. I think they'll win games with him there because it's not going to come down to if Alex Freeland gets called up, whether the Dodgers win or lose isn't going to come down to how good Alex Freeland hits. Now, he needs to hold his own. Everybody needs to hold their own. But it's going to come down to whether the top 3 start performing like they can, whether Teo gets healthy and starts performing like he can, whether Edman gets healthy and starts performing like he can. That's what it's going to come down to. Will Smith, if he continues to hit. So it's going to come down to everybody else around him performing like they should, which would allow a guy like Alex Freeland just only to have to hold his own, which I think he would. And so I have zero problems if that's the way that the Dodgers decide to go there. But I do think that is a DEFCON 4 red flag alert right now. Dodgers got to figure out the third base situation. Elisheba Jones, I am looking forward to seeing Glasnow return tomorrow to the mound as well. Good evening or good morning to yourself, Al Minerva. Thank you so much for joining. We have just a wonderful crowd logged in. I would love to do this every morning at 9 o'clock. Be kind of a, maybe turn this on at the workplace instead of the first hour of your day being radio. Maybe you could make it Dodgers Dogs Live, or if you're in the middle of a commute, you could have that on. Or if you're home and whatever your hours are at, go ahead and join us. So we have a wonderful crowd logged in. Again, get on the phone, tell all your friends, get all your buddies over here, and let's get a good chat going here for Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. So in the chat right now, Ryan R. Freddie cannot catch all those horrendous throws. Turning point in the game last night. Betts error throw. 3 run in the first, still manageable, but 5 proved to be insurmountable, no doubt. And if you go all the way back even to the first win that Friday night in Kansas City, you remember that game ended on a double play, and Freddie Freeman made just a ridiculous pick on that. So totally agree with that. And that's another reason why the third base situation has to get cleaned up. But Freddie Freeman, man, you got to give him yeoman's effort. You got to give him a lot of cred for the ability of him to, without him, just an average first baseman defensively in terms of picking bad throws in the dirt. If the Dodgers just have an average first baseman over there, there's no telling what this defense looks like at this point. I will say this, though. I love Haseong Kim, and let's go ahead and get to him because I've said it how many times, and I'll stick with it, and I know that he has been really good offensively. But I will say this, Haseong Kim, for me, and this was my stance on him whenever the Dodgers first pulled him up, is 100% plug and play ready defensively. I would have zero problem if they moved him to shortstop or put Alex Freeland at shortstop, whatever you want to do. But I just love the defensive abilities of Haseong Kim. He is just the way that he moves to balls, the way that he uses his athletic ability to get to baseballs, the way that he transitions from field to throw. His arm is very good. He has a very happy-go-lucky persona to him. We have seen the excellence that he has shown, the ability. So here's what makes a great defender. A great defender is somebody who will make all the plays that they're supposed to, and then occasionally make a great play. I think at second base, you're definitely going to get that. You're going to get a guy that has a big range. They call it a box. So some guys have bigger boxes than others. Haseong Kim has a big box, meaning he has a lot of range. So I think he's going to have a lot of range, and he's going to make all the plays in his box. Then he's going to go and do like he did last night, and make plays that other people can't. So I just don't see any downside whatsoever of making Haseong Kim your everyday second baseman. Live with it in the offseason. Maybe you decide to make him or Alex Freeland your everyday shortstop. But for now, I think that would be a pretty difficult ask at this moment. And Freddie and Mookie Betts has been good defensively despite the error last night. But here's what I'm talking about. See that range? First of all, let's back that up. Watch the range. Watch how far he moves to go get this ball at shortstop and the speed he uses to get there. That's a lot of range. The transition from glove to throw, very strong arm and not a lot of effort to get into that strong throw. So I love Haseong Kim, and that goes to your point here, Ryan R. I think Haseong Kim being the everyday second baseman, let's get him comfortable there. I think Tommy Edman in center. I think there's some things you can do in right and left, but I think that really, to me, I know Tommy Edman would be a great, say, he's a Gold Glove second baseman. The problem with Tommy Edman is he hasn't been healthy. Haseong Kim has. I think Haseong Kim right now gives you an everyday option that can give you great defense at second base. So I would like that. So, hey, can't call myself a Dodgers dog anymore. Haven't seen a game since the Padres series. Happy to hear Glasnow is returning soon. Dodgers are desperate for pitching, says Elishiva Jones. Baseball is a game of streaks. This is Chuck Huddleston showing some great perspective here. Chuck Huddleston says that baseball is a game of streaks. It's best not to get too high over wins or too low on losses unless the losses become a prolonged streak. Totally agree with you there, Chuck. So here's my little bit of pushback to that. I'm all about not necessarily the results in the middle of a season, although results certainly matter. I like having the 6-game lead, being 20 games over 500, having the best record in the National League, having the second best record in the major leagues. All of that is super important, and it totally matters. And I totally agree with you. Because of that, you can't freak out over the ebbs and flows. That's why I like concentrating on the process. So my question for you would be, are you concerned about the way that the top three have performed? Are you concerned that the window for Mookie Betts has been all season? Are you concerned about the lack of home run hitting for Freddie Freeman dates back to May 11th, 187 at-bats? Are you concerned that Tommy Edman came to the Dodgers injured and has spent this entire season almost either injured or not playing well because he was injured? Are you concerned about that? Are you concerned about Teo Hernandez's defense in right field and the fact that he's just hitting 188 in the last 30 games and he's been not healthy as well? Are you concerned about the fact that Kike Hernandez is on the IL right now and so is Max Muncy? So I totally agree with you that you don't freak out over the ebbs and flows, but when you go under the hood and you look at the process, my question for those who have that perspective, of which I'm not necessarily disagreeing with, is how are you not concerned about that, the process of it? Those pieces of the process that I just mentioned, how are you not concerned about that? Also, how are you not concerned that Emmett Sheehan is coming off of Tommy John? He's just getting ramped back. We have no idea how he's going to react to stacking outings on top of each other as he goes. And you would have to think he's going to be on a leash for the rest of this year. How are you not concerned about what Tyler Glasnow is going to look like after all of the rehab outings that haven't been perfect. How are you concerned about the Dodgers not getting Roki Sasaki back? That kind of thing. So, yes, the results part of it, don't freak out over the ebbs and flows, but I would say there are some red flag alerts and some reasons to be very concerned about the process piece of it. And if you disagree with that, I would love to hear your pushback to not being why you're not concerned about the the process aspect of that. So Ela Shiva is in the house. I do think the Dodgers need a little legitimate bats, says Craig Osterberg. All of this is a learning process, says Andres Fonseca. All about a learning process of getting better. Great perspective, no doubt. So Craig Osterberg, that's what I'm talking about. Who replaces Muncy? That's part of the process we're talking about. Muncy definitely, Alex Renteria definitely was carrying the team. We've seen that. Dodgers got to figure out a way to get over that. And the way that you figure that out is to get the top three hot, get Teo being Teo again, and go about your business. Andres Fonseca, it's frustrating how they're playing, but we need to see our weaknesses right now. That's a great perspective. You need to see your weaknesses right now so you can figure out what you need to do at the trade deadline. It would be worse if this was happening at the beginning of August, after the trade deadline already came and passed, and there was nothing you can do about it. So now the Dodgers have right at a month to see if this is just a short-term trend, if Max Muncy actually is going to get healthy, where they can actually figure that part of it out, and what they actually need to do with left field. So that is the way to look at this, Andres. Totally agree that thank goodness this is happening now, so the Dodgers front office, who is the best in the world, can evaluate every day as far as what they have to do at the trade deadline. I promise you they went into this year thinking, oh, man, I don't want to have to deal with the trade deadline other than maybe a few small things to figure out and shore up. But now they're back just like they went into last year thinking that way, because the trade deadline has gotten so expensive, because there's so many more buyers now, because there's more wild card rounds, so there's more teams that are thinking, well, I'm only 4 or 5, maybe 6, 7 games out of the wild card. I'm not going to sell now, because if I go on a streak, I might make the playoffs. And we've seen, like the Arizona Diamondbacks a couple of years ago, all you got to do is get in. So if you're 5 games away from the wild card spot, you're not selling, probably. So, or if you are, you're selling at such a high price that it makes the trade deadline so overpriced. So the Dodgers 2 years in a row have gone into the first game of the season really having done enough work in the offseason, feeling like they were in good enough shape to not even have to use the trade deadline. And for the second season in a row, because of injury, it looks like they probably are going to have to use the trade deadline. Last year, they got Jack Flaherty, they got Michael Kopech, they got Tommy Edman, and it was a A++ situation on top of the offseason. So we'll see how that goes this year. It's all going to come down to whether they think Max Muncy, A, can get healthy in time to help the team, and B, when I say healthy in time, I mean, yeah, just because he's healthy, he's going to have 6 weeks layoff. I mean, he's going to need time to get his rhythm and timing back. So just because he's healthy just doesn't mean he's Max Muncy, the Max Muncy that left the lineup when he got hurt. So those are all things that you have to evaluate. Chuck Huddleston, I think we have arms that are starting to get healthy, and young arms that will help us get through this thing. I don't see a bat, though. That being said, I would decimate the farm for an arm or bat. I'm not sure if you're saying you would or you wouldn't. I think it says would there. Chuck, if you could clarify that in your next comment. I don't want to. I know I'm not misquoting what you typed, but I want to misquote what your actual intent there was. So you're saying you would decimate the farm. I'll give you my opinion on that. There's a couple of guys that I'd be real stingy on. You know me, though. I would decimate the farm every time, because to me the farm is like money. You can make more. Okay, you draft every year. The Dodgers are great at trading. The Dodgers are great at picking guys up on just situations you wouldn't think of that replenish the farm. Just look at Jackson Ferris and Zaire Hope, and I mean they got turned around for Gavin Lux. The Dodgers are great at doing those kinds of things. So it's like my grandpa would always tell me: you can take all the money in the world away from the rich people, and within 5 years they'll have it all back. He said, the reason is they figured out how to be rich once, It's once you get the feeling of being rich, you want to stay rich. You don't want to be poor again. They will figure out a way to be rich again. You can take all the money and all the prospects away from the Dodgers all you want, but with the front office the Dodgers have right now, they'll figure out a way to get it all back. So to me, you trade off these prospects, they go somewhere else and they do like Justin Hageman did, who started the game on Saturday for the Mets against the Yankees, and he gets to be an everyday pitcher, or what Braden Fisher's doing and closing games for the Blue Jays. You trade these guys off, and then the next thing you know, you have Alexis Diaz. You have Nick Frasso, who's back. You have a Jack Little who's throwing very well. You have all sorts of different guys that have replaced them. The Dodgers will replace whoever they trade. Okay? Now, there are a couple guys that I'm sure you're like, I wouldn't trade that. And they're called untouchables. For the right price, I think everybody would be traded, maybe. I mean, last year they didn't trade Dalton Rushing. But I'm all for trade whatever you have to trade from the farm. Don't worry about decimating your farm system, because the Dodgers are going to build it right back up. Go get what you need to win a World Series, because here's my biggest point on that. What is the point of having Rancho Cucamonga? What is the point of having the DSL? What is the point of having AAA Oklahoma City? What is the point in all this? The point is to build a system that you can use to help bolster the Los Angeles Dodgers at the major league level to the point to where they win the World Series every year. That's the whole point. So why would you not work in a way that's going to help you accomplish the only goal there is, which is to win the World Series with LA? If that means trading off prospects at Rancho or trading prospects at Great Lakes or Tulsa or Oklahoma City, then it's a no-brainer. You do it, because the whole goal, I'm going to tell you again, the whole goal is to win a World Series. What good does it do you to hold on to Josue De Paula, Zaire Hope, Dalton Rushing, whoever it may be? I'm giving the ones that would hurt the most, right? I know that. I'm poking right here. But even with that, what good does it do to have Dalton Rushing sitting on the bench, not contributing, and watching somebody else win the World Series because you needed another pitcher, or because you needed a left fielder and you didn't play him in left field? What good does that do you? By the time Josue De Paula or Zaire Hope make the major leagues, you could have won 2, maybe 3 World Series before then, 4 in total in this generation. Now, I know it would suck to watch them with another team because they're going to be really good. Like it sucks to watch Gavin Lux be really good with the Reds, or Michael Busch to be really good with the Cubs. But that suck is a lot less than the excitement and the enjoyment of winning 3, maybe 4 world titles, because you cast in the pieces you needed to win those titles for those guys. I just never understand the idea of, oh, we can't get rid of him. No, you get rid of whoever you needed to go get who you need to win a World Series, because if winning a World Series isn't the goal, why do you have the minor leagues in? What is the minor league? What are the minor leagues for? What is all this for? It's, again, I'm going to say it again, it's to win a World Series, point blank. So do what you have to do to put yourself in a position to win the World Series this year. Not next year, not the year after. We are the Dodgers this year. So the only caveat to that, I would say, is what the Padres have done. When I say that, and Austin and I talk about this all the time, the one thing you can't do is try to go get the most amount of all-stars you can, like on 10, 11-year contracts, because as they age, they start underperforming their contract. And that's really the only situation the Dodgers could pin themselves in to not being competitive every year, is if they have a bunch of 35-year-olds that they still owe 6 years on the contract with that aren't any good anymore. That's the only way they can do that, but they have been super smart with that. It's another reason why they need to stay young, do what they're doing with Dalton Rushing, Haseong Kim, Andy Pages, Jack Dreyer, Ben Kasparius, Jack Little, those kind of guys, Landon Knack. That's why they need to continue to do that, Justin Robleski, because you can't have too many of those superstar contracts that are even like a Juan Soto, who's young. I mean, are the Mets getting out of him this year? This year. And so are they getting this year out of Juan Soto what they're paying him? So are they going to be getting what they're paying him 6 years from now? Hell no, right? That's the only way the Dodgers could really pin themselves. So from that perspective, no, you don't do everything you can to win this year because you don't want to pin yourself into bad long-term contracts. But when it comes to trading prospects and doing that kind of thing within the structure of what you already have, you do everything you can to put yourself to win the World Series this year. Yes, Tark the Shark, James Outman got brought up yesterday. He got a hit in his first at bat, an opposite field double. That was nice to see. Yes, James Outman is raking at Oklahoma City. Matter of fact, Ryan Ward leads all of the minor leagues in home runs and RBIs. He leapfrogged his teammate James Outman. So for exactly about 22 hours, James Outman led the entire minor leagues, not just the PCL, the entire minor leagues in RBIs. So hopefully, I was hoping that first hit yesterday would springboard him. He struck out looking in his third at bat, made some good contact in his last at bat. So hopefully he gets enough runway where he can get comfortable, where he's not pressing. I doubt that happens, but I think for James Outman to be a successful major league hitter, somebody would have to say to him, hey, you have 3 months. I don't care what happens this 3 months. I don't care if you hit 0-0-0 and strike out every at bat. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but you have 3 months, James. Relax. You have 93 days or however long it is to get this thing figured out. So relax and go do what you're capable of. I think it would take that type of situation for him. That's not a situation the Dodgers have. That's not leeway or runway that they are going to be able to give him. He's going to have to hit the ground running. He's going to have to get hot, and then he's going to have to stay hot, and he's going to have to be hot for about a month before he goes cold. What are the odds of that happening? That has not happened since. Now, that's exactly what happened the spring training of 2023. So maybe we see a duplication of the spring training of 2023. But for the last 2 years, that hasn't happened. I think that's what would have to happen for James Outman to get consistent playing time. So tomorrow, a day game. Yes, Alex Renteria, Casey, I don't think the worry should be the division because they will win it. The concern is their play versus the top teams in the league, which they will see in the playoffs. Yes, they were successful against the Yankees, against the Mets, not successful against the Astros. Part of that, I think, I'm going to go ahead and say, it's a stretch where the Dodgers didn't play good at all. Give the Astros credit for that. The Astros kicked the Dodgers' ass in every way. But if you notice the way that the Astros came in, they were the hottest team in baseball. The Astros right now at this moment are the best team in baseball, period. So, yes, the Astros are very good, but the Dodgers also caught them in a bad time. So when you look at, the Dodgers were fine against the Cardinals. They did fine against the Mets. They did fine against the Yankees. Astros, I think they caught at a bad time. So I think they have done well against those teams. I'm not worried about the way they'll perform against them, especially if their pitching is healthy. But I am worried about all the under-the-hood concerns of the process that I mentioned earlier. Top three needs more days off. I agree. Look at Will Smith. That's exactly why Dalton Rushing is so valuable. That's also, you can give Freddie Freeman more days off with Dalton Rushing. That gives you a natural way of getting Dalton Rushing days off. Another way of getting Dalton Rushing at bats, giving Shohei Ohtani days off, preferably the day after he pitches because he hasn't hit very well the day after he pitches. So Dalton Rushing can get expanded at bats while giving all of those guys time off. And the more bats you give Dalton Rushing, the better he hits. You won't miss those guys on any one given day if Dalton Rushing goes 2 for 3 that day and hits a home run. So I totally agree with that. And if you're going to play Mookie Betts at shortstop, I'm just not going to buy the argument from Mookie. I'm not going to buy the argument from the organization. I'm not going to buy it from anybody that doesn't think the extra work he has to put in before the game start at shortstop hasn't affected. And I know the weight loss affected him too, but so has the grind of it. It's a grind. It's tough. And so just like Will Smith, like Craig is saying, if you're going to play Mookie Betts at shortstop, I understand he needed all the reps early. But from this point on, pace it. Pace it to where he can continue to work the way that he's worked and grinded all of his extra work before games, but still stay fresh. You can do that with Miguel Rojas. You can do that with Haseong Kim. You can do that with Alex Freeland if you called him up. You have the pieces to do that with. Give Mookie more rest. Give Freddie more rest. Give Shohei some at-bats off. And if they don't like it, tough. I know it's tough because they're Hall of Famers and they're such wonderful people and they are the leaders in the clubhouse, and for good reason, because they set every right example. And setting the right example, part of that is wanting to post every day, wanting to play every day. But at some point, the owners, the management, Dave Roberts included, has to say, hey, you know what? This is our long-range plan. This is what we're going to do. We're going to give you this amount of days off, and we think it's for the best for you, so we can best put ourselves in position to win a world championship. I don't think they would have a problem with that, and I totally agree with that perspective, Chuck. No doubt about that. Hey, Ryan R. Cannot remember the last time the MB3 all clicked in a series. That is a real point there. Tark, MLB pitchers can, for the most part, put pitches where Outman can't hit them. Well, they didn't for the longest time, and then they kind of caught on to him, and we'll see if he – so the question there is, has he made the adjustments he needed to make to hit certain pitches that are in his cold spots? He has not proven that he's been able to do that. At this point, the more at-bats he get, I would push back, Chuck, and I would say that he hasn't had enough runway to make any kind of honest evaluation. He got not even all the way through May last year, and then from that point on, it's been in and out, in and out. As he's played bad, back out. As he's played bad, back out. And that's the worst thing you can do to a player, because then they start pressing, then they start becoming afraid to fail. That's when you start seeing the big holes. So I know it's not a popular take, but I'm still going to say any major league team that gives James Outman the proper runway to work through all of his ebbs and flows, not just what the Dodgers gave them at the beginning of last year, we'll see a very good version of James Outman, an above-average offensive player, a well above-average defensive player, and a player that would be very good for that team. So that's where I'm at on him. I think it's just way too underdeveloped in terms of the playing time to make definitive statements as far as what he could be at the major league level with the proper playing time. Hey, Ohtani, Chuck says Ohtani needs to swing at more pitches in the strike zone, yes, and quit pulling off the ball. I agree with that. And go the other way more. Hey, you have, Chuck, we are 1,000% on the same page. When I say quit pulling off, you could make the same statement by saying hit the ball to left center, because that keeps you on the ball, it keeps you hitting through the ball, and it keeps you from pulling off. That is an elite statement there, Chuck Huddleston. Swing at the right pitches, stay through the ball, stay on the ball by thinking opposite field gap. Totally agree. He's opened up the strike zone considerably, and whenever you're pulling off the ball and swinging at the wrong pitches, that is not a good combo. And Craig says, Teo is my concern, offense and defense. I agree. I just don't think there's any way you can't say you're not concerned about Teo at this point. So Teo isn't covering the ground he should in right field. Totally agree with that. Must be the injury. Yeah, that is probably the case there. Alex Renneria, 227, is not going to cut it. And Teo has not been the same since coming back from his groin injury. I agree. Either Sheba Jones, Steve Garvey never took a day off. Just saying. Yeah, but I think also during that time in the 80s and that situation, offense wasn't what won games. So if you go and look at the amount of runs being scored in Major League Baseball, Steve Garvey probably performed about like Mookie Betts is, and we're all bitching and moaning about the way Mookie Betts is hitting this year because it's always been better. And so in this day and generation of baseball, I just think you need more offense. Like back then, shortstop was a defensive position, okay? And he wasn't playing shortstop. I mean, he was playing a position that wasn't as taxing as a shortstop position was. So Cal Ripken Jr., I mean, even going back to then, to the 80s, which wasn't near as offensive as it is now, the argument all the time was, hey, is Cal Ripken Jr. being selfish by playing every day? Because a lot of people felt like he would be a much better offensive player if he took off a day off a week, something like that. That conversation goes all the way back even to Cal Ripken Jr., who is the Iron Man. And there was a lot of people that would be convinced that he would have been a much better offensive player if he did take the day off at shortstop, because shortstop is such a demanding position. Tracy Calvillo, thank you so much for joining. Hope the team gets rested up over the break. Hey, Jeff, now let me get back up there. Just scrolled up on me. We have just an awesome crowd logged in, just an amazing amount of interaction as we got going on here. Let me scroll back down. I'm trying to get back to where I was before, and I had a comment that I wanted to read from. I didn't even get the last name. So if I get to that, there's the trios. If I get back to that, I'll try and scroll through all this. So the broadcast mentioned, Reinhard, that Peralta had his best pitch mix in the season. It really is opponent's World Series every time. Yeah, this is the reason I think the Dodgers record is more impressive than we think. Yeah, because you get everybody's best shot. No doubt about that. Hey, Chuck says, yeah, Casey, I am concerned about all those things that I'm concerned about. There are so many things to be concerned about. The vets seem to lack a sense of urgency, too. Yeah, me too. I'm with that. I'm not too up and down on this because I believe in the even keel, but I do have concerns about the process. Hope we can temporarily bring up some of our relevant AAA position players. That's from Ela Shiva Jones. Trinan is returning soon. That will be huge. No doubt about that. That's from Ela Shiva. Alex Renteria Kim's Jeter-esque throws versus Houston were absolutely awesome. D-Mac did a great interview with Haseong Kim, so go check that out over on Dodgers Nation. Kim really looks good at second base. Platinum defense, he is really a great defender. I totally agree. Yamamoto has pitched this year as many innings as last year. That's another thing to be concerned about. Chuck Huddleston says, that's from Craig Osterberg. Chuck Huddleston says, I like the idea of bringing Freeland up. Which 40-man roster spot does he take? Well, I said, to me, you retroactive a 60-day IL of Max Muncy. You do a straight swap at that point, and then he would take Max Muncy's spot on the 40-man and 26. Justin Lamas, they're not going to replace an injured third baseman with a third baseman who's even more injury-prone. You're talking about some of the possibilities the Dodgers could go get. Dodgers need some fire players, some players with some fire. And Justin Lamas says lack of starting pitching has been bleeding into the offense and bullpen. Hey, complimentary baseball is definitely a real thing. Tark the Shark says all-star break coming at the right time to give some players some needed rest. Justin Lamas says the best part, that's exactly right. I agree with that. The best part of the game last night was that it ended. Yeah, not worried about the pitching, lack of offenses. There it is. That's the comment I wanted to get to. Jeff Roll, thank you so much for joining. Jeff is not worried about the offense or the pitching. Jeff is worried about the offense. That goes back to the process of the offense. 6 runs in the 4-game patch, okay, whatever. That's a small window. But when you look at Mookie Betts, 249. Freddie Freeman, no home runs in his last 187 at bats. Teo Hernandez struggling. Tommy Edman can't stay healthy. Michael Conforto hasn't been good all year. Okay? Shohei Ohtani hasn't been good lately. I don't think you should be worried about him, though. There are definite concerns about the offensive process. The process about how the offense is performing, or not necessarily performing, but operating right now, I think is what you have to be concerned about at this point. Totally agree with that. So I'm going to start with the bottom and work my way back up. Mr. Classic, thank you so much for joining. Outman was good in 2023, so no excuse. Hey, Al Minerva, hence the reason I brought up Bush. Same issue with rushing and Tarzan. Casey was talking about Outman not getting enough at bats. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've heard the same things about Michael Bush. Oh, he's terrible. Oh, he stinks, this and that, blah, blah, blah. Well, he goes to the Cubs. He gets the proper amount of runway. He gets the ability to swing and miss a little bit without feeling like he's going to get replaced. And all of a sudden he's good. So, and he wasn't good with the Dodgers because he wasn't giving enough runway here, which the Dodgers don't have at this point. If you would have replaced Andy Pages in mid-May or whatever it would have been, you would have never gotten to see the good version of Andy Pages. So that's what I'm saying about that is just that I'm telling you, if you give players small windows and they feel like if they don't get hits, and which is the window some of these players have, and there's just, you either perform and you take advantage of it or you don't. I get all that. But a long-term part of it is you could have some Gavin Lux, Michael Bush type of situations if you get, or Andy Paez if you give them longer runways, which again, the Dodgers don't have at this point. Regression could be 5 to 10 games like the Astros had in 2023, or a huge collapse like the Red Sox had in 2019. World Series regression happens, but to different degrees. So Cole, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever it is. Dodgers lost 7 out of 10 the first half last year. I think this season turned out okay, no doubt about that. And they had the injury situations then too. Mr. Classic, we clearly have problems. It's a 100% fact, but I agree. We will turn around by the end of the year, by the end of the regular season. That, I think everybody's probably on that page. Hey, Craig Osterberg says when Ohtani tries to just make contact, he has more success getting hits. I totally agree from the leadoff spot. Andrew thinks different. He'll always make you think he's going to get another Betts, another Freeman, another Ohtani, and the trio. We're having a great conversation here. Our window, says Justin Lamas, says as long as Betts and Ohtani are there, the club's legacy is judged by how many titles they will win with those players in place. The last 4 games are a sign the hangover has begun. That's a hangover from that very difficult stretch. That's a good point. We talked about with the Rockies and White Sox, would the Dodgers be hungover from that grueling stretch they had? They weren't then, but I do think we are seeing the effects of that grueling stretch in May and June where the Dodgers didn't have any days off. They played tough teams. I think we're seeing the effects of that. I think that's a great point there, the Trios. I totally agree with that. He likes to be steady and keep all of his collections. Garrett Crochet was obtainable last year, but the Dodgers chose to keep their prospects. Yep, they sure did. And I'm always about going and get the best piece you can to win the World Series. It's a win-win. The prospects get a better runway, and the Dodgers have a better chance at winning the World Series. Andrews Friedman equation is World Series and hoard prospects for the future. That's a pretty good equation if you're management. Dodgers still in first place by 6 games, says Ela Shiva. Is that a World Series hangover? Not to this. Well, if you're saying World Series hangover, no. I do think the Dodgers are having a little bit of hangover right now from that grueling stretch in May and June, what we're seeing at the moment. The Trios, welcome to the world. Yeah, the Trios actually was mentioning the World Series hangover. So I don't agree with the World Series hangover. I do agree with the hangover in May and June. So wonderful crowd we have logged on. Don't forget that we have a wonderful Down the Farm coming as well. And so, hey, Altman was good in 2023 and was penciled in as a starting center fielder in 2024. He even made the trip to Korea and was featured prominently on Backstage LA in Korea. Yeah, he definitely lost a job by not playing well. But also, it was an unrealistic window of it was less than 100 bats, and it was not even till June. So my pushback to there is that it just wasn't a long enough runway like Andy Pages got, like Gavin Lux got, like Michael Conforto's getting, like all these guys need, like Michael Busch got with the Cubs, all those kinds of things that I think if you would have been given the same runway that Michael Conforto got or Andy Pages got or Gavin Lux, I think you would have seen him turn it around. I just think it was – I'm not saying he performed well at all. I agree he did lose a job. I just don't think that it was a long enough window to make a definitive he's not a major league hitter, that kind of thing. That's just kind of where I'm at there. Hey, the Trios, congrats to former Dodgers Manny Machado on getting his 2,000th hit last night. Okay, you can kick me off the chat now, says the Trios. That's hilarious. That is an awesome comment. So the pitching, mixed results. Yoshinobu Yamamoto turned in a big-time clunker last night, but he's been good all year. So, Dustin May's been the exact opposite. Dustin May hasn't been all that good this year, but then his last outing was great. So Yamamoto and May have kind of flip-flopped on that. Clayton Kershaw's last time out, it was awesome because we celebrated his 3,000th strikeout, but yet the outing wasn't all that good, to be honest with you. Emmett Sheehan has looked fantastic, but I know how these ramp-ups go coming off of Tommy John, and you don't always get the exact leash that you need. And so we'll see how Emmett Sheehan does. And I still think it's a wait and see to see what we get with Tyler Glasnow. So you have all these offensive problems. You've had all these injuries. The Dodgers have used 35 pitchers this year. I think it's 14 different starters. But yet they found a way over all of it. And I think the way that you need to view this is, before we get to our Down the Farm segment, is with all of these concerns we've had, with all these pitching issues we've had, injuries, all that, both offensively and defensively, the Dodgers still have found a way to have the best record in the National League, 20 games above 500, second best record in the major leagues. So my statement to people like me that are concerned are, well, whenever you do get healthy and whenever the top three do start hitting and Teo starts being Teo again, Tommy Edman gets healthy again, you figure out the left field situation. Whenever all that stuff does happen, now what? You're already 20 games over 500. Now you become substantially the best team in the major leagues. So it's all in how you look at it. That's the way I look at it. Like, once these things do get into place, the Dodgers easily become the best team in the major leagues at that point. That's how I would look at it. Kind of like a team that's not playing well, say for a first half or whatever it may be, and you go in and you're going, okay, guys, well, we didn't play very well. We should, we're better than this team. We're only up 3, okay? But imagine if we do play well in the second, we didn't play well yet, we still have a lead. So what happens when we do go out and play well in the second half? Team goes out and plays well in the second half, the better team does, and then ends up winning by 25, and in the end you're like, oh, that was no big deal. That was just a small blip that nobody should have been freaking out about. That's kind of what I'm talking about in terms of the overall view that I'm going to continue to look at it from. So, hey, I hope you enjoyed that part of our show. Time now, we're going to shift over to our Down the Farm segment, if I can get my video up and going right here. So let's go ahead and flip that over. Let me back this up. And if you have any, we're doing this live, so if you have any prospects that you want to see that I'm not covering, please let me know. And this is Josue de Paula. Let me back up and I promised you that I would go over the Bobby Miller start again. I know I did on my show the other day, but we're going to do it one more time just in case. And let me scroll down to where I have all of his stuff, and then let me get after it from here. So give me just a second here, and we're going to talk about Bobby Miller. His last outing started off very rough. I'm going to say that as we get things going, and you were seeing his last outing there. It started off very, very rough. Matter of fact, he walked 3 of the first 4 hitters he faced, and I'm hoping actually tonight as I go to Oklahoma City that I get a chance to talk to him. First, he walked the first 3 of the 4 hitters he faced. He also gave up a single in the first inning. He threw 35 pitches in the first inning and gave up 2 runs. None of that is good. But what we've seen from Bobby Miller in the past is that 2 runs would turn into 10 or 7 or 8 or whatever it may be, right? And that didn't happen. It was only 2 runs. And then he gave up a leadoff triple in the 3rd inning that Wardo dove after a ball. Didn't give up a run then, looked very good. It started the 4th inning with a strikeout, gave up a single, and then he reached his 80-pitch pitch limit, of which he's on a pitch limit because he was on the IL from June 22nd all the way to July 1st. So to me, Bobby Miller, I was excited about the fact that he got to the other side of the really rough first inning he had. You could visibly tell that he was excited that he made it past that himself, and he started throwing the ball a lot better as he finished this outing. So I think those aspects of Bobby Miller's outing were very exciting the other day. We have a comment from James Thompson. Concerns me that we are being told to wait for October, but we don't know what pitchers are going to be eligible by October. We don't know what position players are going to be healthy. And so we should add maybe a bat. If Ohtani continues to completely get built up, I think he has the most impressive stuff. Will not be surprised if he becomes their ace. Yeah, 102 miles an hour is pretty good. Pretty good. So Josue de Paula, who you're seeing right here, had a couple of hits the other day on Sunday. This is all action from Sunday for Great Lakes. Josue de Paula, just 20 years old, and he's hitting 267. OPS is right around 900. Don't exactly quote me on the exact OPS. But the thing about Josue de Paula that is so impressive is that his walk rate and strikeout rate is exactly the same at 19%, which is very rare. And so for a guy, and keep in mind, Josue de Paula also has stolen 26 bases this year. The most amount of bases Josue de Paula has ever stolen in one season is 27, and he's already at 26 this year. He's going to run right past that. So he's showing some speed game in terms of running the bases. And so he also has a good amount of home runs. I think it's 10 or 11 home runs, something like that. Don't exactly quote me on that. I don't have all of his stats right in front of me. So he's hit a good amount of home runs. He's stolen a lot of bases, and his strikeout rate is under 20% at 19%. And then his walk rate is exactly identical to his strike rate at 19%. So super impressive stuff from a young man who is only 20 years old. And Josue de Paula, I know we talked about the trade deadline. One of the first pieces that any club's going to ask for is Josue de Paula, no doubt about it. I don't think the Dodgers would part ways from him, or Zaire Hope, or Dalton Rushing. I think those are pieces of the puzzle the Dodgers just would say no to. So what kind of player can you get if it's not one of those three? That's going to be the question. Here's a young man with a lot of talent, broke his hamate bone, had a lot of momentum to end last year. This is Cameron Decker, young man the Dodgers got out of high school, out of Illinois. He was just a legendary player in Illinois, and I think he hit 4 home runs in his first high school game of senior year, something like that. Just an awesome player, Cameron Decker. And so he came into this year. He finished last year at Great Lakes, had a lot of momentum. Then he played about 5 games with Great Lakes, broke his hamate bone. So if you've ever had a hamate bone break or been around somebody, you can kind of play with it because you can deal with the pain, but you can't do anything really, and you end up just not being any good. So he went ahead and had the surgery, fixed his broken hamate bone, got back here about 4 or 5 games ago, and what you're seeing right here is Cameron Decker's very first home run back with an affiliated ball. Now, he hit a home run he played about 7 or 8 games at the complex, and he hit a home run there. But this is Cameron Decker's first home run since he's been back with the Loons. Actually, he started, so he went when he got back from his hamate, he went to the complex, and he went to Rancho, played 4 games at Rancho, and then made his way up to Great Lakes. And this is his first home run with either Rancho or Great Lakes. So good to see Cameron Decker back. And I tell you, this is another guy I've been talking about a lot this year, Carson Hobbs. Put him in your Rolodex. He is just absolutely awesome. Sunday, another 2 innings pitched, no hits, no runs, 1 strikeout, no walks. Hobbsy has gone scoreless in 8 outings in a row. He has a fastball that can reach 100 miles an hour, a breaking ball that is Clayton Kershaw-esque in terms of a curveball, and he has dominated. 8 scoreless outings in a row, that spans 10 innings, 14 strikeouts in that span, ERA down to 198, whip down to 088, average against is just 140. Carson Hobbs, starters mix, big curveball, good slider, dominating fastball, super competitive out of Alabaster, Alabama. I really like where he is at. And then another closer for the Great Lakes Loons, who hasn't necessarily had a very good year in terms of statistics because he has not been able to throw enough strikes. I am not going to sugarcoat any of that. That's Ronaldo Yeen, young man that hit 105 last year. He closed the game out on Sunday, which was good to see. He got a second save, only a second save because he hasn't been able to throw enough strikes. And the last thing you want to do is put somebody in for the last inning that you're not sure if they're actually even going to throw strikes well enough or not. So only a second save of the year. He gave up 1 hit, but then had zeros across the board. Here's the thing about Ronaldo Yeen. When he is in the zone, he obliterates hitters. His average against is just 182. So here's the proof of that. When Ronaldo Yeen has 9 outings this year where he has not walked a batter, and in those 8 of those 9 outings where he has not walked a batter, he has gone scoreless. So that just goes to show you just how good the batting average of 168, and then also the fact that 8 out of 9 of his walkless outings have also been scoreless. That just goes to show you how good his stuff is, but it's all going to come down to whether he can eventually figure out how to throw enough strikes to be successful and reliable and that kind of thing. Hey, the trio says the milk carton I bought. This is, by the way, Sterling Paddock. I'm going to let you watch that as I read some of these comments and see if we have anybody that anybody wants me to cover on our Down the Farm segment. Bobby Miller's pitches look like they're being thrown from a pitching machine, fast and straight. Yeah, that's why I like his sinker. That's a good point, Johnny Owen. I like his sinker. He's added a cutter. Bobby Miller has, so maybe that sinker cutter thing gives him a little bit of a right and a left turn off of that fastball that you're talking about that seems straight. Hey, the Trios, the milk carton I bought today had a picture of those Major League Baseball fans who had claimed the Dodgers are ruining baseball. They're missing for some reason. That's funny. Call law enforcement if you can find them. Cry babies, no doubt. Kept reminding them that baseball is life, no guarantees. They should know better. So who you're seeing right here is Sterling Paddock, a young 20-year-old pitcher at Rancho that is very, very good. Mark had a chance to interview him, was it a couple weeks ago? Very exciting to get to talk to him. 2 innings pitched for him, 2 hits, no runs, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks. Clayton Kershaw type curveball, fastball is firm. He works both sides of the plate. And since the beginning of June, try this on for size. 11 outings since the beginning of May. 11 outings, Sterling Paddock has given up just 11 runs and 42 innings. That's a 2.35 ERA, 44 strikeouts. So what you need to do with this guy, he has big-time stuff. He's likely going to be a big-time pitcher, but he's a long ways away from the major leagues. He's only 20. He's only at single A. He's only throwing 2 innings at the moment right now at a time. See, there's that big curveball. So he needs to be in your Rolodex, but not the part of your Rolodex where you think, okay, well, he's in my Rolodex because I think he's going to be with the Los Angeles Dodgers next year or even the year after. It's going to be probably 3 years before Sterling Paddock threatens the major leagues. So put him in your Rolodex because he has that kind of potential, but then put him in the part of your Rolodex that you just kind of check in and give it time and give it a 2, 3, 4, 5 year runway in terms of when he actually makes it up to the major league level. So, hey, that's what we're going to cover today on today's Down the Farm. If you have anybody else that you want me to cover as far as prospect wise, I would be more than willing to do that. I've got video on all these guys. So with that, I'm gonna wait around for a couple minutes. I'm gonna recash some of the things we talked about today to give you a little bit more time to ask any questions or any more chat that you might want to have if you want to do that. And away we'll go. So concerns, the top 3. Going to cover this one more. First of all, concerns offense only scored 6 runs in the 4-game patch. Not concerned about that. Small windows won't bother me. So underneath the hood, Mookie Betts 249 on the year, OPS 713. Freddie Freeman, no home runs in his last 187, 1 home run in his last 187 at bats. Teo Hernandez 188 in his last 30 games, 125 in his last 7. Tommy Edman can't stay healthy. Shohei Ohtani's not hitting the ball very well. Michael Conforto hasn't been good all year, and Max Muncy's injured. Now Kike's injured. There's your process concerns. Pitching, Dustin May and Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the exact opposite. Yamamoto had a clunker last time out, has been good all year. Dustin May has been kind of inconsistent all year, been good enough to survive, but then had a really good outing his last time out. Clayton Kershaw celebrated his 3,000th strikeout, but yet the outing wasn't awesome or anything like that. And so it'll be exciting to see how he does tonight. Interesting to see what the Dodgers will get out of Tyler Glasnow. Emmett Sheehan has looked good, but he's coming off of Tommy John, so how long can he last and how much can he ramp up? Same can be said for Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani has shown ace-level stuff, but how much can he ramp up? That's the question. Hey, are you going to review Dodgers draft picks, says the Trios? Yes, we do a big article and a big draft show every single year after the draft, so we will do a big show on them. A lot of those guys I know from college, so there's a lot of familiarity there. So, yes, we will have the draft well covered. Would rather have, this is from Justin Lamas, would rather have Betts as an elite second baseman or right fielder than a defensive shortstop with below average bat. I'm totally on that. I totally agree. So, hey, that's going to do it for us today. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This has been a whole lot of fun talking Dodgers baseball. So until next time, which will be tomorrow morning with Coach Holt, and then hopefully tomorrow night with a live show with Austin. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Didn't know how many people we'd have in the lobby at 9 o'clock Pacific. This was absolutely awesome. So thank you to everybody who tuned in. So until next time, again, which will be tomorrow morning with Coach Holt, and then tomorrow night with Austin, thank you again for tuning in. And just another reminder, as always, it's a great day to be a Dodger.